here's kind of an outline of what I wanted to go over a little bit today. Just a few questions. First of all, how to get a genome into PECAAN along with its Genemark profile. So for those that haven't done this, this will be new to you. And I will post this on our sharing site. And I'll show you that link here in just a second. But so how to get things into PECAAN first, and then we'll go over how to get a class list into PECAAN. And I know I worked with, let's see, John on that with your massive number that you had last year. So you'll be able to see some of the ways that I did that. And then how to set up practice genomes. That we found that to be very, very handy to set up little practice genomes. And we have plenty of space and stuff in PECAAN to be able to do that. So it's not a problem, especially if you use them over and over again. And then I'm going to go over some of the administrative options that are in PECAAN. And that's where we'll stop. I will then give you an assignment to go look at some of the videos for tomorrow. Tomorrow, there's videos for everything on the annotation. So let's start off with how to get a genome into PECAAN. Usually where I start is just to come into the actina bacteriophage database and copy it out of here. If you go in, you can easily type in, I'm just going to type in Lux. We found this last year as we were doing some of the microbacteriophage that we found several, actually 3 or 4, that had very, very small genomes. They only had 24 genes. Those are very nice to use for practice genomes that let students practice with them. Lux is one of those. So that gives us the luxury, pun, of being able to use this to be able to use as a practice. So you just simply scroll down till you find the FASTA. You can then download the FASTA file. That should download it to your whatever your downloads is for the day. Come on, download. There it is. Okay, so Lux got downloaded. The other thing that I have students do, I usually have them start out using PECAAN by coming back to this database and then simply coming and locally running the BLAST. What that lets them do then as they run the BLAST here is to see what other phage genomes are closest to the particular one that they're working with. And so as they blast, they simply just run the blast. Takes a second, it pops up. I usually then have them record some of the top hits here, like Lux, Cheesecake, Scrunchy, Bert and the Pup is a fun one, and record down some of these. So since this is Lux, some of these other ones are ones that they would want to record. What this allows them to do later is to look this up in the Famirator and compare these closest genomes to their genome in the FAM map. And we will show you that tomorrow. But I just wanted, while we were here, to show you that's where I have students go and start. Okay, so the next thing that you'll want to do is come and log in to log into PECAAN. So once you log into PECAAN, there's several options up here that you have. And one that you will need in order to do the setup is to come up to the admin, okay? And phages, this is where you enter in and set up your phage. You'll need to have a phage name, and that you need to type in the same name, hopefully, that is in the phages DB, if that's where you get it. But you really can put in any name you want. I put in practice, for example, you can put in any name you want. So if, for example, for the Lux, I could simply just put in, say, practice 9. For example, and we could just say this practice. And now we look down here, we need the FASTA file, so I can choose the FASTA file. Okay, so here's where we downloaded the Lux. Bingo, that's in there. And now we see the Genemark file. And it's this site right there. So I've given you that link. It's actually in the outline for today. It's right here, same thing. So if you haven't ever done that or haven't got the link, that's where to go. There's a lot of Genemark options when you get into their site. This is the one you want, is the HMM for prokaryotes. So first thing you come down, you choose your upload file. Okay, it's usually has a little pop-up and lets you select it. I see that as not working. The other option is to simply, let's see if this works. Open your FASTA file and copy it and paste it in. Now I need to tell you something as you do this. Don't open and copy and paste from like Word or something. That inserts all sorts of strange characters in there. I use actually BB edit is one of them. Even the text edit on the Mac sometimes will insert extra things. So use something that only takes and doesn't put in any control codes. Okay, next, Microbacterium folium. Microbacterium folium. Okay, so you've selected the species. What this does is it's predicting where the genes are at by looking at the patterns that are found within the host that you select here. That's what this is. That's what it's doing. Okay, now before I go up and select Genemark to start, you will want to come down and turn on PDF. You want an output so it comes out as PDF. That is what you want to capture. You'll then push the start Genemark. Usually goes fairly quick. Bingo, and there's your PDF right there. So I usually just download the linked file and it shows up in my downloads. Yep. And now back over here in PECAAN, we can come over and we can choose the file. And from the downloads, there's the PDF that it made right there. So you just start PDF, load that in. It should be ready to start adding the phage. Click add phage, and then that should do it. It's really fairly simple. Once you get all of the elements together, okay? And you see there are 26 genes. Choosing the genes is fairly fast. Setting up the database for all of the genes takes a little while. If you scroll clear down to the bottom here, you can see the table here of what jobs are currently processing. So then you can come in and actually see when things finish that you put in, and it may take a day or so. Okay, so that's how you get them in. Okay, so now that we're still in the phages here, you can always go in and edit the phage. So let's go into practice 9 and edit the phage. Now this is very important if you don't put in the name that's the same as the name that is the actual name of the phage. Okay, if you put in something else like an extra number or practice 9, Famerator won't know how to attach things. And so it's very important that you come into the edit and set up the Famerator, this Famerator match. So since we originally put in Lux, let's start putting in Lux. Yeah. Okay, this is where I had trouble. Lux is actually an EE cluster, okay? So if you then come back to PECAAN, you notice that for the cluster, I just simply put practice. You can't do that if you want to then set it up and attach it to the proper one in the, you have to say that this is actually EE, excuse me, EE. Okay, so let's update that, bingo. And so you see you can come in, you can change names, you can change the cluster, you can come in and change the Famerator map. Now, if I come in here and push on the select phage, it now pops up everything in the EE cluster, and I should be able to come down and find Lux. There it is. Okay, so what this does is it takes the Lux Famerator and it attaches it to this genome. Since they're the same sequence, everything should work out fine. And it's very obvious that it won't let you connect it to something that's not in the correct cluster. So the other thing, since we are already in here into the edit, that you can do is if you've set up your genome and then you don't annotate it for a year, the data that is in the database is old. You may want to update that. This is where you can do that. You can come in and you can reblast it. You can rerun the HHPRED or the membrane prediction program, or you can just rerun everything, okay? If you want to update or add a different Genemark, you can actually do that also and let you attach a different Genemark file. Now, for instance, when we were working with mycobacteriophage, we used to use the Mycobacterium smegmatis. I would run it. But I found that for some genomes that I got a lot of the red, which is the atypical type trace, was actually more accurate than the black regular trace. And so I found that if I switched over to the Genemark to actually using the Mycobacterium TB, that it gave me a much better prediction for the trace. And so I could easily substitute there just by, after working with it, you can come in and put in a better one if you find a better trace, for example. And then if you want to delete the gene, you can actually, this is where you come to delete it. If you put in another one, it's more accurate, it's been resequenced for whatever. If a gene has been duplicated, please delete one of them if you're not using them, okay? We do have a limitation on space. Okay, so that's pretty much the admin for the phages. Let's go